Okay, good morning, everyone. Gary Ryan here with you for the Fed League Flash. It is Saturday, May 6th, and we had ourselves a little game yesterday, didn't we? Yep, Carolina goes up in the Commissioner's Cup Finals, 6-2, take game one in the best of five series. Of course, we will not have a champion crowned until next weekend. We have our game tonight, 6:05 at the Carolina Fairgrounds Annex in Winston-Salem. That's game two, and then the series shifts to Danbury starting next Friday. So that's what we have. 6-2. Wow. I did not expect this game to turn out the way it did. Thought it would be a lot closer. Couple of notes that I made. First period, of course, the teams kind of started off with a feeling out period for the first 5 minutes or so. And then Danbury, bam, turnover, generates an offensive chance. It's Brendan Sheehan with an unassisted goal at 6:18. Danbury goes up 1-0, and the crowd that was still kind of trickling in Carolina momentarily went silent. But then the Thunderbirds responded, put on a lot of pressure on Danbury goaltender Brian Wilson, started peppering him. Danbury would counterattack. At one point, there was a mad scramble down low, and somehow, some way, Greg Hussey ends up keeping the puck out of the net. Both goalies just made some absolutely impossible saves in the first period. I counted twice with both goaltenders where Brett Wiseman very appropriately said, "How did that not go in?" Just incredible game. A lot of offensive pressure, but Carolina was getting the better of the chances, and they were getting a lot more shots. So finally, 16:27, Gus Ford breaks through, and he scores. It's set up by Keplinger and Tucker Firth. And so we have ourselves a tie game. Ford says, "I'm not satisfied with that." Just like a minute 22 later, scores again. This time set up by Dawson Baker and Keplinger again. And Carolina takes the lead. And that's a 17:49. Right at the end of the game, end of the period, again, Carolina is just shot after shot after shot. And the Czech line comes through. It's Peter Panachik, ends up getting what would be the game-winning goal. That's at 19:57. Kind of a buzzer beater. And he's set up by Pastuka and Salak. That Czech line would play a pivotal part in this game. I made a comment on the game feed. It's like watching the Stastny brothers for the old Quebec Nordiques again. Those three were just dynamo. So anyway, the period ends. It's 3-1 Carolina, and Carolina will end up with a shot advantage 23-13, and most of those 23 shots were high percentage shots. So Wilson really stood on his head. Keep Danbury in it. Hussey, not to be outdone, he also made some incredible saves. So, by my count, it could have been like 6-2 at the end of the first period. It was just incredible. All right, we go into the second, and things are starting to settle down a little bit, except for the Czech line still dominating the game. Danbury tightened up on defense, and so first part of the period, things got slowed down a little bit, and Carolina then gets into penalty trouble, gets 3 minors consecutively, even brief 5-on-3 for Danbury. And Gordy Brownell, he ends up scoring the Danbury goal, 7:44 on the power play, set up by Tobias Odjic and Lucas DeBenedit. But that was going to be it for Danbury. Greg Hussey barred the door. The defense stood tall. And the Czech line continued to buzz. This time, 12:49, it's Jan Salak, set up by Yuri Pastuka and Panachik. Really, they were really fired up. Just a couple minutes before Salak's goal, there was another mad flurry of activity right in front of Hussey and Panachik ended up making a save. And that really seemed to get Carolina geared back up again. So Salak scores, it's 4-2, and then Yuri Pastuka, he scores, set up by Panachik and Salak, 15-18. It's 5-2 going into the third. At this point, the shots are 39-29 in favor of Carolina. No sign of them slowing down, although things did slow down in the third period. Danbury coach Bill McCreary ended up juggling his lines around, trying to generate some kind of spark. And as opposed to where that worked when they took on Binghamton in the semifinals, it did not work last night. Even though Danbury wasn't allowing any chances, they weren't really generating any chances either in the third period. Both defenses really clamped down and started limiting the opportunities. Danbury was getting a lot more shots in the third, but they just weren't high-quality shots. Of the 12 saves that Greg Hussey had to make in the third period, 2 were high-danger chances. The others just, it was kept to the perimeter, kept to the outside. And finally, about 5 minutes left, Danbury pulls the goaltender. Brian Wilson heads to the bench. And Lucas Rowe finds the empty netter, set up by John Batista at 15:53. And that seals the deal. 6-2 is your final score. Shots on goal for the game, 48-41 in favor of Carolina. And Greg Hussey ends up getting the win. Brian Wilson takes the loss. And we go back at it again tonight. It's only 6 penalty minutes for each team. 6 for Carolina, 6 for Danbury. Referees put the whistles away, but there really wasn't much that I felt that they needed to call anyway. Game was very, very clean. Of course, there was no Jacob Schnapp for Carolina. There was no Daniel Amesbury for Danbury. Amesbury was a healthy scratch, and Schnapp was serving his 1-game suspension. I expect him to be back in the lineup tonight. All right, so that is that. That is Carolina taking 1-0 advantage. They obviously get the upper hand, start things off. So we'll see. All right, I wanted to cover a little bit using a bit of a graphic here, talking about the future of the FPHL. There was a lot of discussion on the game chat last night, and so I just kind of wanted to focus on that a little bit, give you a graphic. I know I've talked a little bit about it in previous videos, but everybody was obviously not aware of the fact that Delaware is now listed as inactive for next season. They will not be playing in 2023-24. They are in a state of dormancy, looking to build an arena in Dover, Delaware. They have a full committee going, very active in their plans to make sure that everything can go from drawing board into reality. So, and they're trying to get it done ASAP. So it looks like they will probably be out of commission for 2 seasons. So now everybody was talking about, well, okay, you got the new teams. You have Baton Rouge and Virginia. Where do they go? How are things going to be set? Sarge told me a couple days ago that alignment is going to be discussed at the yearly meetings, which are at the end of this month, and they will figure out who goes where. Now, all the teams in black are what I perceive. To me, this just is what makes sense. This is what I see for this next season, for the 23-24 season. Up north, you have Danbury, Binghamton, Elmira, Watertown, all in very close proximity to each other. Obviously, you keep them together. You don't want 4 and 7 because there's going to be 11 teams playing this next year. So, my thinking is try and balance it out. You keep the 2 divisions, even though it's 11 teams, and so you put Port Huron and Motor City, who were in the Continental Division this year, put them in the Northern Division, okay? And then down south, you've got kind of a highway going there. You got Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Columbus, Carolina, Virginia. And, that's what I'm thinking is most likely, I think that would work the best with travel and scheduling. Obviously, this next year, we're going to have an unbalanced schedule again. So, yeah, Prowlers and Rockers, you're going to see a lot of each other again next year. Binghamton, Elmira, you guys are going to be matching up a lot. Baton Rouge is going to be playing Mississippi a lot. Virginia is going to be playing Carolina a lot. So that's, really to help minimize travel costs as much as possible. So at this point, that's why I'm looking at Delaware in a box because, they're asleep for now. Not dead, just asleep. All right. He's only mostly dead. Okay, so in the red are teams that are right now most likely going to be joining the FPHL in the 24-25 season. So that would be the Danbury return of the Danbury Dashers, or whatever they're going to be called. I'm sure there's going to be a huge move to keep Dasher's name. And then Atlantic City, they've got a couple of groups that are putting together proposals and a plan for operations. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, that brings you to 13. Delaware, still a second year of inactive status. So now you got a nice little problem here. You got 13 teams in the league, but now you have an imbalance between the North and the South. So you're going to have to do some juggling. Obviously, you want to keep the 3 Northwestern teams intact. You want to keep the Southern teams intact as much as possible. And, it would be ludicrous to break up the little cluster that you have in the Northeast. So what do? Do you go to just one division? Do you split up some rivalries amongst different divisions and then just have those teams match up a lot against each other? Do you have 3 divisions? Right now, that would be kind of odd because you probably have 5, 5, and 3. And that just doesn't make sense. So, some things that have to be sorted out, but the league has time to think about this. So, yeah, and then hopefully the season after that, hopefully Delaware comes back. So then you have 14 teams, and things are looking pretty good for the league. So the league is growing and stretching and expanding, and yeah, it doesn't come without growing pains. It's going to happen, but I think the league will figure things out. And so anyway, that's just a little bit of a graphic to just give you an idea of the shape of the league in the future. All right. Well, anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'm Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe. We will be back tomorrow reviewing game number 2 between the Hat Tricks and the Thunderbirds. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Gary Ryan. Have a great day.